Hey, Jim Remley here with eRealEstateCoach.com. I've got some numbers for you, and then I've got some systems for you for getting pricing in line with our market conditions. Here's the numbers. First of all, NAR has just given us a updated statistic for March. Home sales surged 3.8%. That was a pending home sales surge. So the number of people that went into contract went way up. That was way above what the economists forecast. They had forecasted 0.7, not even a full 1% point on the pending home sales. So we blew past that. But there's a huge caveat to this number, and here's what it is. The median U.S. home value across the country actually fell for the first time in 7 years. Every month, month after month after month, for 7 years, we've had increases in pricing. For the first time in 7 years, it's actually gone down. Why would that be? There's only one answer: a lot of competition. So we're seeing the same pace of sales roughly as we did last year, a little bit off, but not much. So the pace of sales and number of transactions closing in most markets is pretty even. What's changing is the number of listings coming to market, which means more competition and more pricing pressure for your sellers. So here's 3 conversations I'd recommend you have with your sellers. Here's 3 scripts that you can use in the marketplace today. That's the neighborhood anchor script, the waiting game, and the price action script. Here we go. The first one is the neighborhood anchors. So when you're sitting with the seller, you might say this. So your neighbor, down the street over at 123 Johnson has been on the market for 120 days or 119 days. Why do you think they haven't sold? What do you think the reason is? The seller is always going to say, well, price. You're right, they overpriced the property. So you're setting up a mental anchor. You can do the reverse with a positive mental anchor. You can say, hey, on the other hand, your neighbors over here 2 streets over on 3rd Street, they sold in 3 days and they got 99.9% of asking price, probably because they priced it right. They priced it to the market. So there's a neighborhood anchor script for you. Here's another one, the slow cycle. Now, a lot of you are going to have sellers that'll say, I'm in no rush. I'm willing to wait. I'll wait for my price. But is that a good idea? Statistics show that's not a good idea, and here's your explanation. You might say, another neighbor has been chasing the market for X number of days so far. They've been on the market for 120 days, 210 days. They started way too high at whatever price, $300,000, and they've reduced their price down now 3 times. They're now down to $250. They still haven't sold. The problem is they missed the crucial first impression. So along those lines, you might create a sense of urgency here. Did you know the longer a seller waits, the less they get? Let me show you. And then you give them the MLS stats that will back that up. In every MLS, you're going to be able to show that most activity comes in the first 30 days. And the longer people wait, usually the less they end up taking for their house. So dig into those stats in your local market and be able to print those out and show them to your seller. So it's really critical we get the price right, because we have this critical first impression that we're dealing with. Then go beyond comparables with price action. Price action's huge. I'm going to show you an example, but here's the script. So we often use comparable properties as a way to price properties and determine value, but there's something that most agents miss. It's price action. It's where buyers are most active in the market, and we need to study this. So you should do this in your local market. I'm going to show you an example in my local market of what we call price action by price bands. Now your MLS might produce this data as well. We have to do it by hand in my market, and we do this every month. And so this shows price action by price band, and we walk people through it. Now in my market, the price point of 500 to 750 has 5.2 months of supply, but you jump up one more price point to 750 to $1 million, it goes to 28.5 months of supply. And then you go to $1 million, there's 22 months of supply. So anything over that 750 mark, we're in a definite strong buyer's market. Below that mark, we're in a pretty solid seller's market. So we have to really educate the clients as to where they're at and where the most price action is, where the most pending sales are, to get them in a place where they're going to get in a position to be able to sell that home and get top dollar. So I hope those scripts helped you. Have a great day, good selling. We'll see you next time over at eRealEstateCoach.com.